Hello and welcome back to PyWhite's YouTube. Happy Wednesday, and today I have a video about parsing CSV files. And so I was about to go to Macaru to get some fake data, which by the way is an excellent site, but I decided to use ChatGPT with the following prompt. And it gave me some fake CSV data, some movie data. I'm not sure if this is accurate, but it will work for our exercise. And I also asked for some basic CSV parsing code, and it embedded the CSV and used string IO together with CSV reader. And I'm going to take this as a starting point, but quickly refactor to use DictReader and then use the simple namespace from the types module to change dictionaries into objects for more pleasant parsing. And that should be the point of this video. So let's get started. This is all standard library, by the way, so we don't have to install any packages. Here's the code, and let's run it. And one problem is, and that's also a good warning, that you always should run the ChatGPT generated code and use proper judgment, but it is printing the header as well, which I don't want. We can also maybe more realistically put this in a file, because that was my initial goal. So let me quickly do that now. And I would kind of have to rip out the quotes as well. So for that, bear with me for a little Vim shortcut. So globally in the whole file, replace the quote with nothing. And now we should have a pretty clean CSV file. And then instead of using string IO, I'm going to just open the file. It's F, the R is optional, and then this is the same. And the delimiter is comma, so let's see if this still works. It does, but we still have the header. Now, reader is an iterable, and you can call next on the reader, on the iterable, and then it would advance one row. So you basically skip the header. I don't really have to assign it to a variable because we're not going to use it. All right, so we got the CSV data in its own file, and we're able to load it in using the reader. But now we got a list of elements, and when you refer to list items you would use indexing, so you would have row and then 0, row 1, 2, 3, and that might not be very readable. So you could also use DictReader. Then I don't need this header skip stuff, and now we should get dictionaries for every row, so that's already nicer. Because now if I want to access the title, instead of doing indexing, I can actually do a dictionary lookup, which is more readable. And let's also get the year. Yeah. Right, so we get the title and the year. But that's dictionary lookup. What if we want an interface like dot, making them objects with attribute access? So obviously that's not going to work, but these are dictionaries, so dict object has no attribute title. But we can use, and let me introduce where I got this from. We can use the simple namespace. Shout out to Antonio1, which taught us about this in his newsletter. So he's always spreading interesting Python stuff, so you might want to subscribe to this website. And he has a similar scenario where he had a dictionary and he wants to change it into an object. So I can actually use the code right here. So we import the simple namespace, again, standard library. And then we can make a, movie. And we can dictionary unpack the row, right? And now we should be able to do movie title and movie year. And we get the same result as before with the dictionary, but this is kind of more pleasant. Now, why wouldn't we use a nametuple or data class? And I asked that same question to Antonio, and he was so nice to quote me in the article and explain the difference. So nametuples are immutable. Use data classes when you want all the freebies one gets with the data class and the lovely post in it. So you could actually do some extra stuff upon constructing a data class. Use classes when you want behavior. So classes are when you start to add more stuff to it. And this summarizes it nicely. So use simple namespaces when you're doing an early prototype, want clean dot notation, which is my argument for the refactoring I just gave you. You're not sure about mutability until you figure out what's the best data structure to use. So when I want to define my data structure up front and I want it to be immutable, I definitely go with a named tuple. Ideally a typed one, which I have a video about, which I will link here. But in this example, I just want to have an object on the fly, and I don't really care about defining it or using it elsewhere. Then simple namespace is really cool. Again, early prototype, want clean dot notation. And that's exactly kind of the scenario I outlined here. So yeah, CSV, you can use Reader, you can use DictReader, and that's already much better. But if you take that extra line of code to make it a simple namespace, then you have an object with dot notation, and that might actually be way more pleasant to work with. Hope you learned something new today. Any feedback welcome, just comment below. Also, if you have any preferences for future videos. And other than that, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.